What is artificial intelligence? So by the book, AI is a scientific field that studies the development of algorithms that solve problems that are usually associated with intellectual labor. But you need to keep in mind that this is not necessarily accomplished by imitating what humans would do. It is developed through the ability of machines to artificially reason over data sets and complex questions. Cool, but what about machine learning? What is machine learning? So machine learning is the study of computer algorithms that are not explicitly programmed to do a task, but learn how to do it and improve automatically through experience and using data samples to learn from. To go into the examples, we're going to talk about three main types of approaches to machine learning. Here we have our example, which is a project that uses a combinatorial agent. Now, if we're thinking about geometry, if we're thinking about our architecture, this project uses a combinatorial agent that tries to fill this voxel grid with these components until the grid is filled to a target capacity, to a target void ratio. This algorithm was trained by these two image pairs in which you have like the configuration, just the black elements, and I want the algorithm to draw me these red lines. And that was it. And in order to do that, with the components in, I translated the voxel space into pixels. So we have the components against the white. That was the image that you were seeing before. That was supposed to be fed into pix to generate the red lines. And then algorithmically, it's quite easy. Just remove the red lines and you have the spaces. And this is a sample of the training set that I had to develop. So it was a bit over 2,000 image pairs. And I had to draw them by hand, right? And I needed to go through this process because I needed to embed my bias of feeding what is the space to an algorithm, an extensive process, but by the end of the day. So you can see here some samples that have been generated by Pix2Pix. And this brings us to another example. Pix2Pix is cool. You can do machine learning with it, but it is 2D. Right? And it is a big problem for machine learning and architecture right now, because most of the applications, if not all of them by this point, are based on 2D. I know I showed the reinforcement learning example that had the agents navigating in 3D, but most of the applications are based on 2D, on images. And one of the biggest problems is just computational power. It's really hard to process 3D data as we process other types of data that we're using right now in machine learning. But what we're looking into right now is how can we use a process that we know it works, it does what we want it to do, and make it 3D. So this exercise that we're seeing right here, it is a 3D-ish example of machine learning using Pix2Pix. So what we did, we were trying to embed gesture bias. When you present something, let's say a drawing to someone, and it has 2 points, and you ask this person to make connections between those points, what we wanted to do was to embed the biases, the intuition that the person as a designer at that stage would use to make those connections and use that to create 3D shapes with it. So what we're doing right here is, again, we have a voxel grid. So we have this stack of voxels, and every horizontal layer generates an image. So when I'm drawing here, all of these black structures are segmented by layer. And we feed that into Pix2Pix and we get an output from it. And the output that we get are these connections that we see right here that are being informed by the way that the person that was drawing would make connections based on the training set that we had developed to train the Pix2Pix algorithm. So that's why it is 3D-ish. It's not really 3D. We're using stacked images, but that's how we're doing it. And just to wrap it up, this brings us to our pipeline that we are developing. What we want to do is we will start from a local context, and we would use this data, this location data, with the solar data that is associated with this geographical location to do a solar radiation analysis. The other part is that we'll be using a mathematical model to create a geometrical shape, or better, to create a geometric shape generation strategy. In other words, an algorithm by which you generate stuff, on which you'll be doing an aggregation using MOS, using discrete elements, combining those two with the solar radiation analysis to feed into a genetic algorithm that would generate you a final form, a resulting aggregation. In other words, trying to blend in the designer intuition and intention that will go into the definition of your mathematical model and the aggregation. Remember, we're using biases to our advantage, and we would use the machine analysis through Ladybug and through solar radiation analysis to feed into a genetic algorithm to find a best solution for that problem in particular. This is a process that you will see is super intensive computationally. It's super expensive computationally. and it would take hours and hours and hours to find a solution. So what we're thinking about is how can we use pix to automate this process, to take this huge analysis and compress it into an algorithm that can run almost instantaneously. And to do that, we would take our location and context to produce an image, and we'll take our final resulting aggregation to produce an image and train them together into pix and see what comes out of it. Then do that to automate this process. So it is what we're doing is the automation of design, automation of analysis, and automation of the final optimization of the design.